If you have tendonitis, you've probably been told some version of just give up, rest it, ice it, stop doing the things you love. Now, that advice is a dead end because it doesn't fix anything and it just puts your life on hold. So, here's the truth nobody hands you. Tendinitis is not caused by training hard. It's caused by specific everyday patterns most people never learn to see. And the proof of that is the people who do the right things. Train the right way, fix the patterns, load the tissues correctly, and you don't break down. You get strong and stay strong. Pain is what happens when those patterns go unaddressed, and strength is what happens when they get fixed. What I'm going to show you today is what tendinitis really is, the patterns that cause it, and the exact system we use to turn a painful tendon into a strong one. Now, let me tell you what tendinitis really is because almost nobody bothers to explain this part. A tendon is the cable that connects your muscle to your bone. Every single time that muscle pulls, the tendon is what carries the force. Tendinitis is what happens when that cable gets asked for more than what it's prepared to handle, and that's it. It's not your body falling apart and it's not age catching up with you. It's a loading problem, and a loading problem has a loading solution. Now, here's why your doctor's telling you to give up. And it's not entirely wrong. There's actually something you do need to give up. And it's not the activity, and it's not the things you love. What you need to give up is the resting, babying, and wait and hope plan because that plan is exactly what has been failing you. Your tendon doesn't hurt because you used it. It hurts because it's not strong enough yet. And resting it will never make it stronger. Only the right load will. The same tendon that broke down under load is the same tendon that rebuilds under the right load. That is the whole reason this is fixable. Now, your tendon didn't blow out in one bad movement. That almost never happens. It was worn down by three everyday patterns that stacked up on each other over months, even years. I'm going to name all three and I want you to look at them honestly because this is where the power is. These aren't random bad luck and they're not permanent. These are patterns and patterns can be changed. This is the whole point. The people who get strong and stay pain free are simply the people who have identified these problems and did the work to fix them. The pain is what these three produce when they go unaddressed. Strength is what happens when you address them. So, as I walk you through each one, don't hear it as a verdict. Hear it as a checklist of exactly what to fix. Miss even one of them, and the pain finds its way back. So, we deal with all three. Now, the first thing working against your tendons is your posture, and almost every one of us lives like this now. Look at how you spend the day. Phone in your hand, hands on the steering wheel, arms reaching forward on the desk. Every one of those pulls you in the exact same direction, and that's forward. Do that for years, and your shoulders roll in, your upper back rounds, your head drifts out ahead of your body. And here's why that wrecks a tendon. When you live rounded forward, certain tendons at the elbow and the shoulder never get to fully unload. They sit under a low load constant tension all day long. That is a tendon that starts every task already half fatigued before you've even picked up a single thing. And that's not age, and that's not arthritis. That's a position, and a position can be changed. We open up the front of the body and build up the muscles of the upper back that hold you tall. You get posture back where it belongs, and the tendon finally gets to rest when it's actually resting. Now, here's a driver no one has ever pointed out to you. Watch how you actually hold things: a bag, a tool, a coffee cup, your phone. Most people pinch the object with their fingers instead of wrapping it with the whole hand. We call that the lobster claw grip, and almost everyone does it without knowing. When you pinch, the small tendons of your fingers and forearm are forced to carry a load that is big. Strong muscles of the whole hand are built to share. Picture carrying a heavy bag hooked in your fingertips versus wrapping the whole hand around the handle. Same bag, completely different strain. That fingertip load repeated all day is exactly how the small tendons at the elbow are overworked and irritated. The fix is simple. Once you see it, wrap the entire hand around the object so that the load spreads across the tissues that can actually handle it. We practice it on every object every day until the full grip becomes automatic and the tendons stop carrying what was never meant to carry. Now, here is what nobody tells you about overuse. And it's not how much you move, it's how little you change. You do the exact same movement, the exact same way every single day, and you're not using the tendon, you're sanding it down on one spot. The fix is not rest, it's variety, real engineered variety. Now, at the Strength Laboratory, we changed the grip wide, narrow, neutral, rotated. We changed the range of motion full, partial, the bottom half, the top half. We changed the contraction type, lifting, lowering, holding dead still. We changed the exercise itself so the load lands on the tendon from a fresh angle. We even changed the stability demand, the diameter of what you're gripping, how thick the handle is, because the fatter grip completely rewires how the whole forearm fires. Every one of those is a different stress, and different stress is what makes the tissue adapt instead of break down. Sameness is the injury, and variety done on purpose is the medicine. Now, here's something you can feel for yourself right now. Reach into the meat of your forearm, the muscle just below your elbow, and press around. If you find a spot that's tight, ropey, and tender, that's a trigger point, and almost everyone with tendinitis has them. A trigger point is a section of muscle that has been locked down and it will not let go on its own. A locked muscle never truly rests. It keeps constant tension, quietly pulling on the tendon even when you're sitting down doing nothing. Now, that constant tension is a big part of why the tendon never gets a real break, even on your so called rest days. Now, here's the part that surprises people. Trigger points refer pain. They send it somewhere else. The pain you feel right at the elbow or in the wrist may actually be driven by a knot sitting higher up the forearm, nowhere near where it hurts. That is the actual reason why chasing the spot that hurts so often fails. The source is somewhere else. What we do is we find where the actual source is by feel, release the muscle, and the tendon finally unloads. Now I want to show you what's actually happening inside the irritated tendon because this explains why it feels stiff and weak. A healthy tendon is built like a well-laid rope. The fibers run in tight parallel lines, and that is what makes it both strong and springy. When irritation lingers for weeks and months, your body tries to patch the area, but it doesn't lay down clean parallel fibers. It lays down scar tissue, a stiff, tangled patch with fibers running every direction. That patch is weaker than healthy tendon. It is less elastic and it limits how the tendon moves. This is why neglected tendon feels both fragile and tight at the same time. You're feeling the scar tissue. And here's the good news and the whole point of this session. The diagonalized patch is not permanent. With the right kind of loading in the right order, these fibers can reorganize back into a clean parallel, strong lines. We do not just calm down the tendon, we rebuild the actual tissue. Most tendinitis advice gets the order completely wrong, and the order is everything. People jump straight into stretching or strengthening when the real issue is that the tissue is still locked down and irritated. And then they wonder why it doesn't take. You can't load your way out of a tendon that's not ready to be loaded. You'll just pile new stress on top of the old problem. So we go in a specific sequence, and each step earns the next. First, we release what is locked down, the trigger point keeping the tendon under constant pull. Second, we nurse the tissue with high volume band work because the tendon barely has its own blood supply as it is. Third, we calm the pain and build tolerance with isometrics. Fourth, we rebuild the actual tendon and realign those fibers with accentuated eccentrics. Release, nourish, calm, rebuild in that order. Do it in this order, and the tendon goes from constantly irritated to comfortable to genuinely rebuilt. Skip a step, and you're right back here in 6 months. Step one is trigger point therapy, and there's a real reason this comes first. A tendon that's being pulled on by a locked, knotted muscle is a tendon that's never actually had a break. So, before we load anything, we have to get it to let go. We work directly into the forearm, finding the trigger points by feel, and we apply targeted pressure until the muscle releases. This is the most direct way there is to make a tight guarded muscle finally let go. The moment those knots release, two things happen. The constant pull on the tendon stops, so the tendon gets its first real break. A fresh blood flow comes back into the area that was choked off, and the tendon needs that circulation to have any fair chance at healing. That takes us to the next step. Step two is high volume band work. Here's why. Most people don't know this. A tendon barely has its own blood supply. Muscle is full of blood, tendon isn't. That's why tendons heal so slowly. So we bring the blood to it ourselves. That's the whole job of this step. Light resistance, high reps, slow and controlled. The band keeps a steady tension the whole way through. No jerking, no sticking points. All that volume works like a pump. It drives fresh blood and nutrients straight into the tendons. It wakes up the tissue and starts the healing process without ever overloading it. It's gentle, repeatable, and it gets the job done. Before I go into the last two steps, I need you to understand how a muscle actually works because this is the key to everything that follows. A muscle works in three different ways. The concentric is the lifting phase. The muscle shortens to produce force, like curling a weight up. The eccentric is the lowering phase. The muscle lengthens while it is still under control, like lowering the same weight slowly. The isometric is the holding phase. The muscle works hard, but nothing moves, like holding the same weight dead still halfway up. Here's why this matters for your tendon. For an irritated tendon, the concentric, the lifting, actually does the least for you. It's the slow eccentric and the isometric that are imperative because those are the two that calm the pain and rebuild the tissue. That's why the last two steps of our system are built entirely around those two. We're not guessing, we're using the exact muscle actions a healing tendon responds to. Step three is isometrics, and this is the step that gives you the fastest relief. An isometric is holding a strong position under load with no movement at all. And here's why that surprises people. An isometric hold can noticeably reduce tendon pain within a single session. This is one of the few things within rehab that calms pain that quickly. But it's not just a painkiller, it's doing real work. Holding a load with no movement teaches the tendon to accept force again without being threatened by it. Every hold, the tendon's tolerance climbs a little higher and it grows more resilient. So, this step does two jobs at once. It takes the edge off the pain you're living with and it rebuilds the tendon's confidence under load. A calmer, more tolerant tendon is a tendon that's finally ready for the last step. Step four is accentuated eccentric. This is the step that rebuilds the tendon for good. Quick reminder, the eccentric is the slow lowering phase, the negative. We don't just do it, we accentuate it, extra load, slow down on purpose. And here's why this one is the actual fix for the tissue. Remember that disorganized scar tissue, the tangled, weak patch? Slow, loaded lowering is the exact stimulus that reorganizes those scrambled fibers back into a clean, parallel, strong lines. You're remodeling the tendon fiber by fiber back into the rope it's supposed to be. That's the difference between calming a tendon down and genuinely rebuilding it. Every rep gets progressed only as the tendon proves it's ready, never before. When you're finished with this step, you don't have a tendon you have to protect anymore. You have a tendon strong enough that the pain doesn't come back, and that is this step. So here's where this goes from information to actually clearing your tendinitis. Everything I just showed you, the loading problem, the trigger points, the scar tissue, the four-step rebuild, that is not a theory. It's a system. And it works in a specific order. You've already been told to rest it, to hope. And you know how that ended. Rest only hit pause. The knot stayed. The tendon stayed loaded. And the pain came back the moment you went back to your life. We don't manage tendinitis. We clear it. It starts with trigger point therapy. We release what's locked down and put you on the exact path you just saw. And understand this, every month you wait, the scar tissue sets in a little more and the tendon gets a little weaker. This doesn't fix itself. Your tendon isn't broken. It's underprepared. And underprepared is something we fix. The people who do the right things get strong and stay strong. Let's make you one of them. Call the number on the screen. Book your trigger point therapy session. Let's get this cleared for good. Call 562-245-6460. That's 562-245-6460.